Hey Homeworthy, I'm Kelly, and this is my home in West Palm Beach, Florida. Come in, I'd love to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, my name is Kelly Sandbach. I'm from West Palm Beach, Florida, and I am lucky enough to be mother to two young little girls, and I also work for myself as an interior designer. My home is a Spanish-style ranch home. It is situated on a freshwater lake here in West Palm. So we purchased this home in 2020, so it was right at the height of the pandemic, and we were looking for a larger home. We had a starter home. We had our young daughter with us, and we were looking for something new, but also old. I wanted something that had a little bit of history to it, but I also needed something on a quiet road, away from more of the city part of West Palm. So what I loved about this home was it was situated on the lake. It was quiet, it had a little bit of front yard, backyards, things for the kids, but it also had a little bit of history. The home was built in 1973, and when we first stepped foot in the house, what I loved about it is that it had the saltillo tile on the floor. So some people might know that better as terracotta. I find that to be a staple of homes in Florida, and one of the first things that I had in a home here in Florida that I loved. Welcome to the sitting room. So as I told you before, this is my favorite room in the house. So what I love about this room is that it is where I'm able to kind of showcase all of my little curiosities and my collection. So starting here with this table, I always love a large library table. However, I don't have the square footage to put one. So I found this table, and I said I found it. It is a Facebook Marketplace find, which is my favorite place to source, if I can. I found this, and I just wanted to put all of my shells on it, a super large vase to hold all of my palms, because I think the bigger the better, right? The higher the palm, the closer to God. So this room is kind of an awkward shape. So to find a appropriate sectional was actually very hard. This was a total unicorn find. This is a vintage Henry Link bamboo and wicker sectional, and it fits within the space perfectly. So I got really, really lucky with that find. So I've used a lot of greens and seafoam blues in this room. I don't like anything super bright. I know we're based in the Palm Beach area, but I just don't do a lot of brights and pastels. So we do a lot of greens and blues in here. Here you're gonna find my collection of pillows. I've been told that I have too many pillows, and that's okay with me. I use these pillows to bring in color and pattern because I am not in the space right now to reupholster this vintage couch. So we're going to keep it as is, and we're gonna add the color in with all my pillows and my throw blankets. And above the sofa, we have a little bit of balance, a little bit of harmony. So I did source this nice big rattan mirror, and I needed something to anchor it on the side. So I'm not much of a DIYer, but this was a DIY project of mine. These are these little cubes that I found on Amazon that I wrapped in a vinyl grass cloth. And I found yet another place to put more of my stuff. So I've got some silver pineapple candle holders up there. And then over on this side, I once more sourced this from Facebook Marketplace. This was an amazing find. I don't know if it's a DIY, I think so, but it wasn't by me. So these are all real seashells on acrylic. And then I just have some baskets and some more wicker. We swapped out the light that was originally in this room with this chandelier here. This is a Capiz shell chandelier. And again, this is an older home, so we don't have soaring ceilings. I had to find something that was a statement, but that also my 6'3" husband wasn't going to bash his head into. So what I really like about this is its shape. It really does allow for you to clear it. I mean, I'm 5 feet, so that's not a feat for me, but it is the perfect statement light for this room. This is one of my absolute favorite pieces. So this is a antique tiger oak dresser. And I did find this once more on Facebook Marketplace. This was a $100 steal. And it is just my favorite. I love the movement of the wood here. It really does look like tiger stripes. And the person that I bought it from said it had been in their family for over 100 years. So I love that it has some history to it as well. And I just put a nice little lamp here. I'm obsessed with anything tortoiseshell. So when I saw this was a ceramic glaze lamp done in a tortoiseshell finish. Had to have it. Also a thrift find there. I've got a Crespi style rattan tray in the back for a little bit of texture. My bamboo candlesticks. And of course, gotta have some coral. This is a beautiful coral fan. And what I love about it, which is just for people that are fans of shells, it's got little barnacles and clamshells attached to it. So again, if you're a guest in my home, I'm gonna make you look at the barnacles. And this right here is my formal entry table. So this is a Chinese altar table. And I love that it's this dark, rich wood. And to contrast that, I have my polished silver pieces here on display as well. And above that, I have a stamp art mirror that was painted white when I found it. So I just kind of patched it up a little bit here and there and kept it as is. I like it because it kind of resembles a coral finish. And that's that. Styling entry tables or console tables like this can be really tricky. So what I like to always add to it is definitely a balance. So you want to have symmetry and you want the height to have a balance to it as well. Again, I like to put things out here that represent me. And I love a family photo. So I do have an older picture of myself in Cape Cod with my dad as a baby. And then over here, I have a family portrait of my husband, my daughter, and I in Newport. So I'll take you now over to this wall on the other side of the archway. This can be tricky to style as well, because again, speaking about balance and harmony, we need something similar here. So I did add a little bit of a plate wall. Again, I'm not much for a ton of color, so I chose a brown and white assemble of plates. I also have this vintage tortoiseshell bamboo magazine rack that holds all of my architectural digests and a couple coffee table books. And I feel like it creates a nice harmony. So I would describe my personal style as being a fresh take on old Florida decor. So what that means is that I love to decorate with a lot of rattan, brass, bamboo. You're gonna find shells and coral, anything that really calls on the coastal locale of West Palm Beach. So my favorite room in the house is actually the one that I'm sitting in. This is my favorite room because it holds all of my little curiosities. It has all the things that I like to collect. I'm a huge collector. I love vintage. I love to thrift. So here is where I find that I can display it all. And it's the first room that you walk into when you enter my house. So I feel like it's right on display. I also love to sit here in the morning and drink my coffee. I have this wonderful fountain right outside my front door and I get to bird watch, which is my favorite thing. So it would definitely be this room right here. Now, welcome to my dining nook / kitchen area. So this space is kind of a little bit more open concept. I don't have a formal dining room, so I made do with this space. So right here, we built a corner banquette. Again, with the awkward spaces, it's definitely an older Florida home. So we didn't have a lot of space for a regular table and chairs. So to save space, we built this. And above it, you'll find a photo ledge. And in the photo ledge, I have pictures of my children. I have wedding photos from my wedding and also my grandparents' wedding and my husband's grandparents' wedding. So those were actually left over from our wedding. We had that on the welcome table. And so I repurposed them here in the kitchen. And because we all know that lighting is the jewelry of the room, I went for a big statement here. This light is actually made up of all coconut shells, which I thought was super fitting for the space. And so opposite the dining nook, I have a buffet table here, and on either side I have extra chairs for when we have more people joining us. And here, once more, I just love to display my stuff. So I do keep my candlesticks here on the side. Again, if I have to bring them over and get a little bit formal, I can do that here. And in this tray, I have more of my shells and beautiful sea sponges, a ginger jar, and this adorable photo of my grandparents on their honeymoon in Miami. And here I have a hexagon tortoiseshell bamboo stand. So I'm using that to prop up my orchids. And on either side, I love wall brackets. So I use these wall brackets to show some more height here with the coral fans. And then here I have a antique printer's tray that again, my big DIY. I glued these in here. That was my big win. But I just love to display them like that. And I love a printer's tray. And here on this wall, I have two posters that I had framed. And these are really cool, actually. These are from the 1980s. They are old anti-alcohol propaganda posters from the Soviet Union. So I am sober, and so is my husband. So this is just kind of a little nod to our sobriety and kind of a good little reminder. And I just think it's fun. I like quirky, fun little things, and the colors were super fun. So I had those framed in a bamboo frame. As you can see, I have set the table for you guys today. I will say though, I am not a tablescape expert. It's not my strong suit. However, can't deny that it looks really nice, especially when you have company over. So it can be super simple. I did use the plates that I just have in my cabinet, and we got these nice rattan chargers, bamboo flatware, and I did source these napkins secondhand. They are so gorgeous, and I wrapped them in a little bamboo ring. And voila, it's so simple. So when I first started to decorate my home, that is what I started to collect. So pretty much anything that is woven, wicker, rattan, it catches my attention and I go for it. So I have a hard time not picking it up if I see it at the antique mall, thrift store. So you'll find a lot of rattan pieces, and then of course you're gonna find a lot of shells. So some of them are found on the beach, of course, and others I find and hunt in other places. So I do love corals and all different types of shells. And I just think that if you're gonna decorate with shells, you should put them everywhere, you know, not just one. That's not gonna cut it. So you'll find that I kind of overdo it with my shells. I also love to decorate with brass, and vintage silver. So right off of our dining area is our kitchen. So in this kitchen, we did a mild renovation. We did what I like to call a facelift. So we kept all of the original cabinets and we repainted them, added new countertops and a new backsplash. So here you'll see I went extra thick with the countertops. It's just something luxury about it. I like it. So I went super thick. Some people do it just on the island. I did it everywhere. I'm kind of a maximalist in that sense. And then here as a backsplash, I used a cement tile from Villa Lagoon, and I just love it. It just felt tropical. For me, it kind of called on the Bahamas. So I like that feeling in here. I want it to feel a little bit more relaxed, you know, not as formal. So we have that here. So on this island, originally it was a split level. That was a big thing to me, to cut it all to one length. I like to actually see the people that I'm sitting here and conversing with. This is a huge hub for us as a family of four. This is where our grandparents meet us, our parents, kids, everywhere. So I like to be able to just sit across and chat. So originally we did have the microwave situated over the range. I did want to relocate that. So what we did was we pulled that out. We kind of adjusted the cabinetry a little bit. We added this Pecky cypress trim, which I totally love. And we moved the microwave into the island. I kind of tucked it away on, I say, my side over here, so that it's really not in the view of my guests. And I have explained to you that I am a mother of two young girls, so I get a lot of school artwork home, right? But you're noticing that this is pretty clean. It's not just for you. I actually found a great way of putting it elsewhere besides the fridge. So I put this little bulletin board in the kitchen, and that is where I display my kids' artwork. They love it. They love knowing that there's a spot for their work, and it just doesn't happen to be unsightly and on the fridge. Works for me. So going with a more informal space, as I mentioned previously, I wanted to go with rattan pendant lights over the counter, and I went with 2 and made them larger as opposed to smaller and doing 3. Again, I like a statement light, and I felt like this balanced the space perfectly. So in doing the mini renovation or the facelift, I did swap out the hardware, which makes a huge impact. And I went with an unlacquered brass. So what that means is it's a living finish. So as it ages and as it lives here, as we touch it, it'll start to patina. So some of them are a little bit more polished. Some of them have some age, some signs of wear. And I actually like that. You know, I like these living finishes. I like things that make my home feel storied. So I went with this for the hardware. And now I'd love to take you into the home office. So for as passionate as I am about old Florida style, I am actually not from Florida. I'm originally from Massachusetts. I made my way to Florida after a stint in New York. I went out there for a job. And I knew that when I left Massachusetts, I was looking for a fresh start. However, New York just wasn't giving it to me. But the second I got here to Florida, I just knew it. You know, I felt like I totally blossomed, and I started to really find myself here. So I attribute a lot of my regrowth to being here in Florida. So I do have an affinity for the state. And what really brought about this interest in old Florida was this feeling of going into some homes or places and feeling like everything was so gray, you know, from the tile to the wall. And I thought, this doesn't represent Florida. To me, it doesn't feel like Florida. Florida to me is sunny, happy, all of those things. So I started to kind of dive a little deeper into the history of Palm Beach and the surrounding towns. And I really just picked up an interest in it. And back then, so this was what, 2019, thrifting was amazing back then. Pre-pandemic, it was amazing. So back then, you know, what was filled with in the thrift stores was a lot of rattan, a lot of brass, a lot of chinoiserie and things like that. And I just started to fill my home with it, but not just fill my home with it. I wanted to know the history behind it. Like, why am I seeing all these pieces here that maybe I didn't see in Massachusetts and New York? And so I really got interested in the history of Florida. So this is the home office. So this is my personal office here. This is where I work from. So I am a full-time mom, so that means I'm centered out of the home, but I do work for myself in interior design. So in this room, I had a little fun with the paint. We painted the trim all around, also the baseboards, the casings of the door, everything, this beautiful green. And then I went and wallpapered the wall with a smaller iCat print. And here I have a faux bamboo desk. This was also purchased secondhand. This was a great find. And over here I have a shelf, again, another bamboo shelf that I put all of my collections on. And then of course the more unsightly printer is on the bottom. Here behind me, you'll see that I have this curtain here. So what's actually behind here is another series of shelves. So I do like to keep some of my tile samples, my wallpaper samples here. But I also use this to tuck away my kitty litter box. It's unsightly, but you know what? That's what we have here. It's what we're working with. So for me, it works because my cats can access it, and then I can also close it away and no one is any the wiser. And the rug that I've used in this room has this gorgeous shell motif on the edge. And I know I'm kind of overdoing it with the shells, but to me, that's kind of campy and I love it. So we have this nice trim. I feel like it balances out the cream of the wallpaper, and I love it. So something I should note is that I started my journey into interior design from this house. So it was after we moved in and we started doing all of these renovations, I really became passionate about how I wanted these spaces to look and feel. And so it was from there, you know, in sharing on my Instagram and getting feedback from my followers about all of these projects that we were doing, that someone kind of tapped on me and was like, hey, you know, you should really do this. You have a great eye. So it was from there that, you know, after I was done all of my projects, I was like, you know, hungry for more. I didn't want to stop here. So that was how my career in interior design was born. this is the very tiny bathroom off of the office. And what's really cool about this and that I love to talk about is that we once more did this mini facelift. So we did a no demo reno is what I like to call it. We kept the existing tile, the existing sink, toilet, plumbing fixtures, and I just went with a super fun wallpaper. I also painted the ceiling this deep rich black, added a fun light, and of course I love old Hollywood, and this is actually not Marilyn Monroe, often gets mistaken for it. This is Jane Mansfield, so if you know, you know. And yeah, I just love that we were able to do this without being wasteful and gutting the entire space. Sometimes it doesn't really need that. And now I'd love to take you to the other side of the house, to the primary bedroom. Welcome to the primary bedroom. So this is my bedroom, and as you can see, it does lead outside. So that was a huge win for me when looking for this house. I loved all of the bright light that came from there. I also love the access right to the patio and the pool. We are also on a lake, so I was super inspired to bring in blues into this space. So I did do an accent wall, which is kind of controversial in the interior design world. Some people like it, some people hate it. I like it with a big bold print. It kind of feels more like a mural to me. So I just have it on the wall that my bed sits on, and it's just enough. I would not like it if it were all over the room, so works for us. And then over here, tucked in the corner, we have a little desk that I use as a makeup vanity. So I have this gorgeous bamboo mirror over it, and I like to kind of style everything on a tray. That way I'm able to move it. If I do need to step into the bathroom, it's easier lighting in there. So I like to put everything on a tray. Kind of keeps it all organized as well. Again, for balance and symmetry, on the opposite side of the lamp, I have a tortoiseshell hurricane. I love to have candles on throughout the house. So scented, non-scented, doesn't matter. So I have that there. So to tie in the blue from the wallpaper, I did go with accompanying fabric on the pillows here. So this is also a Tebow fabric, and it is of the same color that the wallpaper is. I go ahead and throw a nice blue quilt over it just to add some balance. And I have these rattan nightstands. And then here at the end of the bed, I did style this bench. Now, styling a bench at the end of the bed can be a little tricky. I like to go with just a small, simple throw, maybe a stack of books, something decorative on the top. And what I love about this even more is that it actually opens. So I'm able to kind of store some unsightly stuff there, boxes, shoes, things like that. Anything with hidden storage is a big friend of mine. So that's what I love for at the end of the bed. And now I want to bring you into the primary bath, which is right off of the bedroom. So as far as primary baths are concerned, this is a rather small one. So we wanted to really pack a punch with the wallpaper. I'm a big fan of big punchy prints and palms, of course. So we went with a tiled chair rail, wallpaper the rest. This here I have in place because I don't have a lot of storage. Again, this is a really small bathroom. So I sourced this little antique tortoiseshell bamboo shelf. Etagere? I'm not sure, whichever works. And this is where I put all of my towels, extra toilet paper, things like that. And then here we have a walk-in shower with just a small glass partition. I did this kind of lagoon colored tile all the way to the ceiling with brass finishes. And now I want to take you to my daughter's bedroom. Follow me. Welcome to my daughter Jolene's room. My daughter is 6 years old, so as you can imagine, she is obsessed with the color pink. So we decided to totally color drench this room. So that means I painted the ceiling, the walls, the trim, and the door, all this muted bubblegum pink. I was inspired by Palm Beach for this room. I kind of wanted it to have a nod to the colony. So we went with this round rug on the ground. It's this watercolor trellis print. And then I did a nice daybed in a green velvet. And I have some white accents throughout. I have a white wicker mirror above her dresser. She has a white lacquer dresser and a faux bamboo. My daughter is completely obsessed with unicorns, so I knew that I had to sprinkle some unicorns in her room, but I had to do it tastefully. So I actually sourced this off eBay, and it was It was a unicorn find, quite literally. I could not find anything like it. This brass unicorn mounted onto wood. I had it nice and polished, and then we added a pink fabric lampshade to kind of girl it up a little bit. And I just love it on the top here, next to the wicker heart mirror. I just love her room. It was really my space to get creative and tap into, you know, my feminine side. So this was a really fun room to decorate. So right off of my daughter's bedroom is the guest bathroom. So it is primarily used by both of my kids. So we went with something kind of bright and fun in here. However, it has to stand up against the abuse from a 6 and 3-year-old. So I went with a simple ceramic subway tile. I did a chair rail to protect the wallpaper from splashes and everything else that comes along with kids. We did a deep soaking tub here. They love to basically swim in this tub. Super fun for them. And then I just brought the tile all the way to the top, again, to prevent splashes and keep it easy to clean. That is the name of the game for me. So the wallpaper in here is really, really bright and bold. I wanted it to be a bit of a nod to Palm Beach, so I went with this large banana print and in a splashy blue. Here on the mirror, I did something with this kind of natural white texture. It reminded me of coral, so it worked. All of the fixtures in here are brass, so I did the same finish here for the sink that I did here on the flusher as well. It's all about matching in here. So what home means to me is someplace that you can always come back to, that you feel safe and comfortable in. And being that I am a mother of 2 young girls, it also needs to be not so precious. It should be able to get a little marked up, a little stained here and there, and that's just the reality of things. So home to me is comfort, it's safety, but it's also a place to just relax. You know, I never want my children, my spouse, my friends, anyone to feel uptight in my space. It should be relaxing.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.